Okay, more derivatives. 27. F prime of z. You have to recognize that's a product. So it's going to be the first times the derivative of the second, e to the negative z times negative 1. That's the chain rule, the derivative of the exponent, plus the second times the derivative of the first. The derivative of square root of z is 1 half z to the negative 1 half. That comes up a lot. You should just get used to that, of thinking square root of z is z to the 1 half. Okay, I'm looking at this, I'm going, really, the only simplification you really could do is if you factor out e to the negative z, you get a negative square root of z plus 1 over 2 square root of z. Okay, 29. Z equals 2 to the 5t minus 3, so z prime would be 2 to the 5t minus 3 times natural log of 2, and then the chain rule is times the derivative of the inside function, which is the exponent, which is 5. 31. F of y equals 10 to the 5 minus y to the 1 half power. Okay, this is our first double chain rule problem, so check this out. So f prime of y, the outside function is the exponent, 1 half, 10 to the 5 minus y to the negative 1 half, times the derivative of the inside. Well, what's the derivative of the inside? 10 to the 5 minus y times natural log of 10 times the derivative of the inside of that one times negative 1. Okay, so we got two derivatives, and that's because the inside function also has an inside and outside. Okay, it's a composition of functions. 33. Oh, I said multiples of 3, didn't I? Holy smokes, I just was doing odd ones. So these ones aren't going to help you, but if you keep that 31 is a really good problem. But let's go back to 30 now, because I just love doing these problems, right? 30 equals, just for you, I like doing it, to the 1 half power. How about that? Holy smokes, this looks terrible. But if we simplify this, we can write x squared times 5 to the x to the 3 halves power. Okay. Now with that, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this as, I can take a power raised to a power as x cubed times 5 to the 3x over 2. In this case, it's a whole lot easier if you go ahead and simplify it first. So now I'm going to use the product rule, oops, and write it like this. W prime is the first times the derivative of the second, 5 to the 3x over 2 natural log of 5, then the chain rule times 3 halves, plus the second times the derivative of the first. Okay, there we go on that. And 33, y equals z to the 1 half over 2 to the z, so y prime is the bottom, times the derivative of the top, minus the top, times the derivative of the bottom, 2z, natural log of 2. This is why I put lines in my z's, because otherwise my z's and 2's would look alike. All over the bottom squared, 2z squared. Okay, does that look okay? I'm just kind of looking at it right now, making sure we're good. Yeah, we'll go with that. You can maybe, rewrite this a little bit, but it's not really going to simplify too much. All right, 36. E to the x minus e to the negative x, e to the x plus e to the negative x. So y prime is the bottom, times the derivative of the top, e to the x minus e to the negative x times negative 1, oops, minus the top, times the derivative of the bottom, e to the x plus e to the negative x times negative 1, all over the bottom squared. let's see what we got here. How does this all work out? Let's see, this becomes, I'm not going to simplify it a whole lot except unless something nice happens. That times e to the x plus e to the negative x minus e to the x minus e to the negative x times e to the x minus e to the negative x. And I just see where I made a mistake. Do you see where I made a mistake? I'd like to say I did it on purpose, but I didn't. This is the bottom is a plus. Bottom times the derivative of the top. And I'm sorry, you probably caught that and you're screaming at your computer, hey, dummy, you messed it up. But we caught it. And so this is a plus. So this becomes a e to the x plus e to the negative x squared minus e to the x minus e to the negative x squared all over e to the x plus e to the negative x squared. Okay. And what are we on here? 36. I said 39 and then back up to 35. So 39, 1 over, well, here, I'll do this. 39, f of x is, I'm going to write it like this, x cubed plus 1 to the negative 1/2. Then the derivative becomes negative 1/2 x cubed plus 1 to the negative 3/2, and then the chain rule times the derivative of the inside, 3x squared. So then that just becomes 3x squared over, put the negative out front, 2 times x cubed plus 1 to the positive 3/2. And 35, h of x is x squared plus 9 over x plus 3 to the 1/2 power. So h prime of x, the outer function is a 1/2 power. X squared plus 9 over x plus 3 to the negative 1/2. Then the chain rule says times the derivative of the inside, which is the bottom, times the derivative of the top, right, minus the top, times the derivative of the bottom, all over the bottom squared. Okay, that's about all we can do. I mean, I can multiply this out some and combine some like terms possibly, but that's what we get for the derivative. Okay, call that one good.